The National Green Tribunal, which is a quasi-judicial body, today banned open defecation and the dumping of waste on the floodplains of the Yamuna and announced a fine of 5,000 rupees for those who violated their order. But while the idea is welcome, the question remains on just how this will be implemented.
A fine of 5,000 rupees for anyone caught dumping waste or defecating on the floodplains of the Yamuna or any other water body in Delhi. That's what the Green Court has ruled. The court has asked Delhi Jal Board to take the help of the police and enforce the order.
Only because of the involvement of NGT the things have moved. Otherwise you see that the government was at all not inclined to do anything.
The Yamuna travels 375 kilometers from Yamunotri to Delhi, and by the time it comes here the water are still relatively clean. But once it exits Delhi, it has picked up all the muck and the pollution of the national capital. In fact, all the major drains of the national capital, carrying with them the sewage of the city, enter the river, leaving it not as a river anymore, but as one giant drain. The main cause of river pollution in Delhi are the 14 big drains that empty largely untreated sewage into the river. And then there are people like Jamal, who live near the Yamuna and wash clothes on its banks.
सरकार ने घाट बना के दिया, 6 महीने भी नहीं चला, उसे तोड़ के फेंक दिया, हम फिर किनारे पे रह गए।
क्या लगता है आपका ऑर्डर जायज है, नाजायज है, क्या होगा? आप लोग का क्या होगा?
नाजायज तो है, लेकिन कोई जरिया नहीं है ना और कोई सब।
The court has ordered a committee to be formed to monitor the progress of the Yamuna cleanup. The centre and state have assured the court of setting up 14 sewage treatment plants by 2019, which will treat at least 70% of the untreated sewage entering the river. In New Delhi, Siddharth Pandey for NDTV.
In the Green Tribunal's order earlier today on the Yamuna floodplains, where the tribunal has basically said that it is banning open defecation at the Yamuna floodplain and also has ordered a 5,000 rupee fine for anybody who violates it. Joining us tonight, we have Mr. Anand Arya, who's a well-known environmentalist, and Tavleen Singh joins us this evening from Mumbai. Thank you to both of you for joining us. Mr. Arya, let me ask you first. It sounds like a great idea, but I think the concern is, how is the Green Tribunal going to implement this?
See, that is exactly the problem with the Green Tribunal and also other orders from the various other judiciary. You see, this is exactly the problem which we have. And by the way, this is not restricted, as per my information, it is not restricted to the Yamuna floodplains, but this is also covers all the area in the NCT. So implementing this is going to be a Herculean task. Let us say even, the clean Yamuna that we were thinking of since January 2015, when NGT gave its landmark judgment that Yamuna would be clean in the next 2 years. Now, unfortunately, we just do not have even one iota of application, or execution, implementation. And every hearing, we just hear, okay, this is what is happening, then another hearing, then another hearing. So I think the time has come, and the only way any order of any judicial body can be implemented is when 1 or 2 erring people are punished and made an example of.
But perhaps they also have to be realistic.
Tavleen
Singh, just,
none of these.
I'm sorry, just to interrupt here, Tavleen, I think the point is, and Shekhar Gupta has been very critical of the NGT. He actually believes that the NGT should be abolished altogether because there have been a series of decisions that have been made which he, for example, said were completely unimplementable, like installing air purifiers at crossings and bus stops, for instance. Even this order today, I mean, I asked as well, what are you going to do? Get the cops to go after everyone where there is open defecation on the floodplains, go after them with a danda? I mean, how do you do this is the question.
I totally agree with Shekhar. I think that the NGT was set up by an environment minister who really was not that interested in the environment so much as in his own power. I'm an environmentalist, very passionately so, and it shames me that we haven't been able to clean our rivers. But this kind of order, what you're doing is you're distracting attention from the real problem, which is that our governments have not got the technology that we need to clean the rivers. It's available only with certain international companies, and until we go there and get that technology, we are not going to be able to clean our rivers. Why does the NGT not think of that? So instead what they're doing is they're making this silly, it's an absurd rule, and what it will result in is the police will be making money out of the poorest people in this country. So, you know, I mean, I really think that this is the final reason why we should all get together and say it's time for the NGT to be closed down altogether.
Mr. Arya, do you agree? Do you believe that the NGT doesn't have a role at all anymore?
No, you see, NGT has passed some very nice judgment, and actually the judgments which they are giving even today are really very good in any in any sense. The only problem is that as of today, we don't really need these kind of interventions. You know, if we simply implement the laws that exist, let us say, why is a river dirty? Because of the encroachments, because of the discharges. Now, what is a discharge? The discharge is essentially of two types. One is that is which the industrial, small, big, all types of, you know, they are discharging into the rainwater drains. And the second one is that you are also discharging untreated sewage. Now, both these things can tomorrow, if somebody has the will to govern, really, I mean, you just have to shut down that particular unit which is discharging without any treatment. That's one. And the same thing, I really don't understand. There are technologies available today where within 6 months to a year, you can set up an STP plant on the point of the discharge itself. And unless and until we get into that kind of a mode of implementing what is the law, what is our legal and statutory duty, I don't think, irrespective of what the judgment comes from.
But do you believe you need a body like the NGT? I mean, today the Supreme Court passes orders on environmental issues all the time.
No.
Why do you need an NGT?
You see, I agree with you. You see, no, I understand what you're saying. That we definitely need a body. Whether you go to the High Court or a Supreme Court or you go to NGT, it is one and the same thing. Okay? As far as a court is concerned, a court is a court. You know, whether you call it a tribunal or you call it a High Court or a Supreme Court. The question is, why the governments and why is the NGT lenient on all of these people who are really polluting? Now tell me why the Delhi Jal Board has not been hauled up for not putting up the sewage treatment plants as they were directed to do in January 2015.
Tavleen, Mr. Arya,
you see, I have spoken to one of the leading multinational companies, and they say that they can set up.
That point you
Nidhi, I can't hear you because Mr. Arya is talking too loudly.
No, sorry. What Mr. Arya was saying interestingly is he believes that the NGT is too lenient. That it needs to be tougher on those people who are actually polluting the environment. You seem to think, if I'm not mistaken, that they're very arbitrary in their orders.
Exactly, that is.
Tavleen Singh, that's what Tavleen.
That is what I am doing.
Yeah, Tavleen.
You see, I have got yet
Sir,
another
one moment. This question
order
is for Tavleen. Yeah.
From NGT, which was given to me in March 2015.
Sir, this question is for Tavleen. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is still not implemented. See, that is my
problem. Sir, I'm just going to, sorry, I don't know if you can hear me. I don't know if the audio is gone.
Not implementing
that question is for Tavleen Singh. Yes.
I couldn't hear you because he was talking too much and too loudly. Just ask the question again.
He seems to suggest, Mr. Arya seems to suggest that the NGT is actually too soft on people who are actually violating environmental laws, whereas you seem to suggest that it's way too arbitrary and shouldn't exist, shouldn't be there.
It's not about whether it's soft or hard. It's about whether the judges sitting in the NGT truly understand what they are ordering. Because even when it was with cars, you know, they suddenly decided arbitrarily that we're going to not have diesel cars that are more than 10 years old. Now, you know, what the NGT seems to be doing is living in a little bubble without understanding what the realities are on the ground. So it's not a question of soft or hard, it's a question of incomprehension. And what they're doing is they're pretending to be saving the environment, and in fact all that they're doing is interfering in governance, which they do not understand. And if they want to say something, they should say to governments, this is what we'd like you to do. You tell us how this can be implemented, or if it can be implemented. So I really think that the NGT exceeds its role, and it's achieved nothing, in my view, at all, and should go.
All right. Well, thank you to both of you for joining us on that important story tonight. Very differing views on what the National Green Tribunal's role should actually be. That's it on the show this evening. We'll see you again on Monday. Good night.